Hello guys, my name is Rizky from acreativealt, and today I'm going to talk about setting up a webinar and Zoom station. I really can't believe it's almost 2 years that most of us actually working from home. We rely on Zoom meetings a lot nowadays. In my case, I actually did most of my meetings with clients through Zoom meetings. Time to time, I was actually honored to speak to webinars. So I always believe that it is important for me to at least look a little bit more presentable on a Zoom meeting. So therefore, I actually have this dedicated setup in my tiny office. Last year, I had a couple of questions from some of my clients, some help on setting up a Zoom stations at their premises. However, time to time, having a Zoom meeting stations at home or even in the office may not be the most ideal. Time to time, I do have a Zoom meetings at home, but I actually have a newborn baby crying in the middle of the meetings, which is maybe a little bit distracting. For meetings, I think that is still okay. I don't know what you guys think. In a webinar, of course, that is definitely not ideal. Likewise, in the office, even though I have a dedicated space, but I don't have a dedicated meeting room sacrificed just for a Zoom meeting. I know some of you guys in a bigger company, you probably have a dedicated meeting room converted into a Zoom station at this point of time. It's a small business, we probably can't afford to do that. I converted my desk into a Zoom meeting stations, but it's actually still part of the larger office itself. So therefore, time to time, you will hear something in the background, like maybe my colleagues comes in to collect some equipment, construction happening outside the office that can be heard. It is not the most ideal situations if I were to speak on a webinar, or even if I simply just do a pitch presentations for a project. So I'm pretty excited to see that Teo Heng is actually offering space for live stream. Just like many of us here in Singapore, I have many good memories with Teo Heng. Went together with bunch of my friends to actually sing a karaoke at the Teo Heng Katong outlet. I really applaud how Teo Heng actually converted the business into something else. With that, I'm planning to visit one of the Teo Heng outlet with my colleagues to actually set up a similar webinar stations. And to be honest with you, when I recorded this video, I have no idea what is going to happen. I'm not sure if the space will actually be an ideal space, but I will try that and I will share the result with you guys. I just want to go through a little bit of things of what I would set up in this kind of space, and of course, whenever we go for any types of shoot, I always like to bring this when we go for recce. So the purpose of this is actually before we decided on where to place the lights, we do a test. So by simply moving this around, you can see roughly where we should put the lights on. See, this table is actually just nice to put my laptop here. So therefore, of course, if I were to put some notes or something, even my bag here, then of course the camera, I think it's sufficient space this way. And of course, it's so interesting to be at Teo Heng. It's really nostalgic. I can remember really well when we used to hang out for karaoke sessions in the past. We always like to bring this giant light dome whenever we shoot our corporate video or we bring to client space. And of course, most of the time we have the luxury of space and the client space. But here, of course, I don't think we have, actually we probably have enough space for the dome light. But I want to simplify the setup a little bit. So if you are doing your own webinars, I think this is something that you can set up pretty easily. This is what we have set up in the room. I have my laptop here and I'm using my mirrorless camera connected through HDMI cable to Zoom. And of course, we have two lights set up in front of me. One is of course the main light, which is the key light, and the fill light, just to balance up the brightness a little bit. And I have a simple ambient light at the back just to give a bit of a color. I have this wireless microphone that is actually connected to the camera as the audio receiver. And we actually spent about half an hour to do this simple setup. We booked the room for 2 hours. So I can imagine this is something that is really convenient to do. We can just simply bring our staffs at this room and set up the webinar stations pretty quickly and basically ready to present. So there you have it. We have set up a webinar stations at Teo Heng Star Vista outlet, and in my opinion, it works really well. I'm pleasantly surprised on how spacious this space is. I could have brought our big lights, and I do believe that the space has a lot of potential. I can simply just cover the couch and design some backdrops at the back, maybe something like what I have in my tiny office here. And of course, the fact that Teo Heng is actually an audio expert. The room was meant to have good acoustic, so I can imagine using that for corporate webinars,
online classrooms, or even those who are actually teaching music, like my good friend Mr. Daniel Purnomo that we featured in the video in the past. We booked the mid-size room. As per September 2021, we can actually have 3 people in the room. Another thing that I would like to mention is that I really appreciate the fact that the staff was really helpful. When we came down and asked about the live stream space, she was actually brought us around to check out different rooms and give us some recommendations. And of course, not forgetting about internet connections. Yes, they do have dedicated internet connections there. I did a speed test within the space so you can actually see the speeds that they have. I do believe it's actually sufficient for most small-scale webinars, which is typically happening in this kind of a space. So in my opinion, if you need a dedicated streaming space that has a lot of potentials to have a lot more setups inside and affordable at the same time, I think this is something that you should really consider. So with that, all the best to Yoheng for this move, and thank you so much for watching, and I see you next time.